It seems every year you're gaining more and more weight. And the only time you can be yourself is when no one's looking. Wouldn't it be great if we could just go back to a time when we were still healthy? You tell yourself that you would walk every day if you only had a partner. Yet every day you walk alone. Until now. Welcome to Walk Talk Vet.
Did you guys know that this year in Japan, they've had over 200 injuries that people have sustained at the hands of bears? And they've also had 13 deaths due to bears this year. And that's kind of fascinating because their previous record for an entire year was 6 back in 2023, so they've more than doubled that. And apparently in the lower part of Japan, there are the brown bears, and in the top part of Japan, there are these Asian black bears. And in both cases, they've completely lost their fear of humans. 2/3 of Japan is covered by these wild forests, and apparently they're exceedingly thick. And that's where these bears actually live. And so they've had over 20,000 sightings this year, and there's a lot of videos of these bears coming down and attacking.
Bear sightings are pouring in from residential areas, including daycares, schools, and supermarkets.
Did you guys ever watch that movie? I think it was called Cocaine Bear. And it was this bear that apparently got a hold of a pretty large stash of cocaine. I watched it years ago, but it was one of these weird movies that kind of made you laugh because the bear was an absolute maniac. Well, these bears out there aren't on cocaine, but they're absolutely vicious. And these things, to me, look like the most gigantic dog you've ever seen in your life. These things are terrifying. I'd like to know your guys' thoughts. What's scarier, a country where we have a little bit too much crime, or living in a country where those bears are literally coming and attacking people daily? I think I'll take the crime. How about you guys? Sometimes we have it lucky. We don't realize, crime still affects a very tiny sliver of people, and I'm sure in the grand scheme of things, same thing goes with these bears. But at least when you have a person attacking you, you know there's somebody that you can try to communicate with. How do you communicate with a bear? Parents have gotten to the point where they're no longer letting their kids play outside. They're driving them to and from school. So we're talking these bears are really cramping everyone's style, and they're actually changing the way people are interacting with their surroundings. Isn't that freaking fascinating? Now, before 1990, I guess the local population hunted these bears to the point where they didn't really come down in the city. But after 1990, some new eco rules went into effect and eco laws, and all of a sudden now, these bears are coming down all the time. To make matters worse, a lot of time tourists, probably from America, go up there, and when they see these bears and their cubs, they want to take pictures and feed them. So a lot of the locals are begging people to quit feeding these bears, and I don't blame them. Every time you feed a bear, it gets more and more comfy being in the presence of humans, and those things can snatch us up at any moment. Some of these grandmas up in Japan, they look very tiny and very frail. I could totally see a bear taking off with one. And the way they attack, a lot of times they bite at the skull and they claw at your face as well. So even if you survive these attacks, a lot of people are getting mangled. They even showed one bear, I shouldn't say this, they even showed one particular day where there were like 6 attacks in a row, back to back to back. And I couldn't help but think, I think the city is under attack.
The bear was inside a residence about 200 meters from JR Yuzawa Station. Damage caused by bears had been reported in the surrounding area since the morning. Shortly after 5 a.m., a man was attacked from behind by a bear. 40 minutes later, another man was attacked from behind. The third bear attack took place in a hotel parking lot. At 6:20 a.m., the fourth victim sustained an injury to his right thigh.
Out here in the U.S., no matter what state you're in, well, I assume no matter what state you're in, there's a fine line between city life and out in the country life, right? You know, when you live out in the country, you might come across a bear if there's bears in your neck of the woods. You might come across a cougar or a wolf or a coyote, right? There's always a chance that you'll come in contact with these things. In certain places in Florida and Texas, you probably have a chance of running up against an alligator, right? So there's different stuff out there, but when you live in the country, that's understandable. These people live in the city. Their city just happens to be surrounded by country everywhere you go. Earlier, I described the brown bear as living on the South Island. I don't know if that's really the best way to describe it. I guess it's pronounced Hokkaido or Hokkaido. And then the black Asian bear lives on Honshu Shoku, which I believe is the northern area. I'll put a picture up here for you to see. They've been selling out bear spray. Bear spray apparently is some pretty powerful stuff. Maybe that's what we should do down here. Instead of having people carrying pepper spray and mace, because every time I see a police video where they spray a bad guy with pepper spray or mace, he seems to be so crazy it doesn't affect him. Even when they get him with the taser, sometimes the taser doesn't even affect him. That's why it's like, if people are going to buy a defense, you know, I would recommend just going for an actual gun, because a lot of this stuff doesn't look like it's going to really work. But what if you sprayed a human with bear spray? Holy moly, I bet that would teach them a lesson. Maybe we should suggest people here in the States carry around some bear spray. What do you think? These people's houses are so up against the forested areas that they were even showing some different techniques and ways that they were trying to deter the bears. One of the ways is they had like this electronic robo-dog, and this thing had red eyes and looked like the devil.
Hokkaido's Uraosu town has been trialing a device to scare the animals away.
I don't know if that would deter the bear for very long, but of course, in addition to that, they're flying up drones, and I assume their plan is to figure out which bears are coming closest and getting the most cushy with humans, and I think they're going to start eliminating those bears, or perhaps tranquilizing them and moving them to someplace further away. Either way, it sounds like they're surrounded by these bears. They're everywhere. Now here we are taught that the brown bear is going to eat you, right? And that with the black bear you can maybe yell and act big, and maybe you can get the black bear to leave you alone. But I don't know if that works for the Asian black bear. All the bears they were showing looked really, really large. Now, I don't know how plate tectonics works. Maybe one of you nerds can let me know, but I'm assuming bears got to Japan because maybe at one time, Japan and China and whatever, maybe they were connected land-wise, or maybe the water level went down. Because how else do you get those giant bears all the way over there in Japan? There's that one part of Japan where it kind of looks like Times Square, you know, where it's completely lit up. And I don't know, I could be wrong. That could be how all of Japan is. But when I see that stuff, it reminds me of like a life-size video game. Looks really cool. I've always wanted to go to Japan, but I never once thought that if you just walk a couple of miles in any direction, you could very well be up against a forested area where a damn bear might attack you. And I'm assuming their bears are no different from the other bears around the world that can run about 30 or 40 miles per hour. So you can't outrun them. They're all, what, 7, 8, 900 pounds? So you're not going to out-wrestle them either. I think your best bet would be to have a couple canisters of bear spray on you at all times. No doubt about it. And I really would take America's crime over that. If I had a choice, I would not want to go outside and see a bear and just hope that I got lucky that day. That would be god awful. But what's worse per capita, America's crime rate or those bear attacks? It's got to be America's crime rate, right? It's probably worse. So maybe the bears are a little bit safer. I'm sure there's areas in Japan where you can totally avoid them, right? Now in India, I've seen areas there where they have to actually worry about tigers. Could you imagine a tiger coming into your house, sniffing where you're at, and literally taking you away at night and biting you in such a forceful way that you can't even scream? So people just randomly disappear and, they figure out it's the tiger. Oh my goodness. What's worse, a brown bear or a tiger? I mean, either way, those are awful. And then there's places in Alaska where they'll show polar bears coming up into neighborhoods. So it's like all these places, you got to have some cojones to even want to live in these areas. I think it's scary just when you go up north and you have people that take pictures of pumas in their backyard. What would you do if you woke up one day and your dog was getting ready to go outside and you saw one of those freaking cougars or pumas in the backyard? That would be the creepiest thing ever. I had no idea they were riding up on me like that. That's how easy a bear or tiger could have attacked me. Holy moly, my shirt practically says go for it. It's green. Did you guys see all the delays and cancellations? I think I heard that today there's 2,000 cancellations. There was one airport where out of their 22 tower employees, I think they said only 4 showed up. And there was like 5 and 6 hour delays. So I was wrong the other day when I said once they turn on the government, everything goes back to normal. Apparently there's a little delayed effect. And I think they're still going to go forward with making more and more cancellations and delays, because they were talking about upping the percentage from 4% to 6%. It's really causing a pain in the ass for a lot of people. Now, I don't know if it's just a couple of airports around the country or if every single airport is slightly affected. But I guess everyone is affected if flights going to these places are restricted, delayed, or canceled. Very interesting, isn't it? Does anybody else get the vibe that we're not as rich and powerful and awesome as we once were? I think we all love the country to death. We all love this place, right? But I think we can all admit, finally, we are kind of deteriorating. It's kind of weird. Kind of very weird. Which leads me to my next topic, momentum. A couple months ago, I was really kicking butt, putting teachers in classes. Now, as we're getting closer to Thanksgiving and Christmas, it's starting to really slow down, or at least for me it is. For some of my coworkers, they're still finding a way to kick butt. Some of my coworkers are almost like Michael Jordan. No matter how tough the game is, they find a way at the end of it to have 35 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, right? And the W. Meanwhile, some players like me, we find a way to not quite get there, right? And so what do we do about it? Well, that's why I always urge you guys to take a walk. Walking is the best way to do things. And sometimes we get gifts elsewhere. Sometimes I wonder if there's little trade-offs. I know I look like that guy doing the 6'7", right? But sometimes I wonder if there's little trade-offs. Like maybe your success at work goes down as your success in maybe relationships goes up. You know, in the past, I would hope that I could connect with my daughter and her family for Thanksgiving and stuff, right? I was getting to the point where I'm going to the kids' families for Thanksgiving or the kids' house. And now, you know, with Mandy, I have more options for Thanksgiving. That's a good thing. I got to go to not 1, but 3 movies recently. Absolutely love going to the movies. I just haven't gone in so long. And now with Mandy, once again, I'm able to go to a lot more movies. So when all of a sudden you fill up your calendar, you realize, well, heck, before that calendar was filled, I had a lot of free time. Now that's sometimes good, but sometimes free time by yourself can get you a little bummed out. So right now, while I've lost momentum at work and even lost some momentum with my channel, I still have a lot of things to be thankful for. And one of them is just, I love my walk. No matter what I'm going through in life, I've got the walk. Remember, the walk must go on. I thought I had my The Walk Must Go On shirt. I have this green thing on. I forgot. That's another good reason to walk. As we get older, our memories start to fade and become further and further apart. Maybe if we keep walking, drinking water, avoiding sugar, maybe we can stay healthier. So if you're with me, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. And holy moly, maybe share the video on Facebook for once. It wouldn't kill you. But you know what will kill you? Stopping the walk. Remember, sometimes we have to coast. Sometimes we're in plateau mode. Today I weighed myself at 195, and it's so weird. It's like, have I really reached some age where all of a sudden my techniques don't work anymore? I hope not. But if that's the case, I'm not going to give up on the walk. I love it too much, and I hope you do too. I want to wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope you come back tomorrow and we'll do it again. Have a great night. Keep walking.